And welcome back. So, Doug, just before the break, we were talking about the work of Hans Hermann Hoppe and his monumental work, Democracy, the God That Failed. And in it, he actually contrasts democracy to what he refers to as the natural elite. So would you talk more about that?
Yeah, the natural elite in a society, as opposed to a democracy where you can be voted into an office, in a proper society, a natural authority would emerge. And this is in contrast to a lot of people who you get into arguments. I know libertarians get into arguments about, well, if we have anarchy, nobody will be in charge, and it'd just be a free fall, and we'll all kill each other, and so on and so forth. But in Hans's view, there'd be a natural authority that would emerge, and it would emerge with these people not based on an election or anything like that, but or birth, as in the case of a monarchy. Arguably, that's better than democracy, but in a natural society, natural leaders would emerge based on their superior achievements of wealth, wisdom, bravery, or a combination of thereof. So this is directly opposite, of course, what Mencken has wrote and Rockwell as they describe the characteristics of democracy. So I think that we all have read stories about ancient cultures where you had a wise man and people would take their disputes to the wise man or wise woman, as the case may be, and have these disputes settled. And I think that's really what Hoppe addresses in this idea of natural elites and intellectuals that would really give order to a society without democracy and without strictures of government.
Now, I'm not a biblical scholar, but I've read a fair amount, and I recall Samuel, Book 1, it talks about how Samuel was a judge, and he was revered because he was a wise man, and so he actually was put in the role of a judge. Of course, the negative part of that story is that he had two sons who were also, they inherited the judge role, and they were corrupt. They were not good. But Samuel was one of these natural elites, and you make a point that often these natural elites act as peacemakers and often free of charge, out of a sense of duty.
Yeah, absolutely. These are very noble people. They've achieved success in their area, and they've attained wealth. Maybe not necessarily, but they genuinely care about the community. They care about their local tribe or society, and these are the people that they go to. They have records of superior achievement and farsightedness, and these are people who are easily to approach, and they're very good at working out conflicts and complaints amongst other people. I mean, when we compare this to how judges are elected in some states or selected in some states or on the federal level, these aren't people who necessarily have earned this right through their past records. These are people who run for office and collect campaign contributions. Judges, at least from where I'm from, are able to get elected because they get a lot of campaign contributions from lawyers. Guess who goes to before judges all the time? Lawyers. Right. But this is not the case that happens when you have a natural society and a natural elite that will govern that society.
Yeah, you make the point that there's no need for the masses to recognize a person as wise or successful, as in Hoppe's natural order would require, nor does one have to be born into a ruling family, as in the case of a monarchy. And now you made a joke about the great American comedian Bob Hope, who was actually born in England. What did he say?
Well, he said, I left England at the age of 4 when I found out I couldn't be king. And which is kind of a funny joke, but it says a lot. And certainly, no matter how talented you are, how smart you are, et cetera, in England, you can't be king. You've got to be born into it. Not necessarily a bad thing, I suppose, but I also make a point about Sir Richard Branson. I mean, here's a guy who's knighted for the service of entrepreneurship, and because he can't be king, can't necessarily run for that highest office. He sticks to what he does best, and that seems to be business. I mean, he has 360 companies, and some of those are very much worldwide, very recognizable businesses, and he's been very innovative.
And actually, he's contributing a lot more to society's benefit than these politicians.
Absolutely, absolutely. And a point that Hans makes...
and I'm going to have to interrupt you in about 5 seconds, so please go ahead.
Repeatedly, is people should make as much money as they can, because that proves that they've served their mankind the best.
That's a wonderful point. So we're going to come back in just a minute, folks, so please stay with us, and you'll hear more from Mr. Doug French and us on Radio Free Market. Talk to you in a minute.